Hello, and welcome to another episode of Pharaoh Philosophy. So, I know this is the first video in a long time, but it's not without reason. I have been quite busy, and one of the things that I have done, and really the main reason that I have created this video, is to talk about the way I do music. So music to me has always been an essential part of existence, and sort of like there's a right to music and everyone has a right to music and the music that they like and things like that. And I've been also wrapping up a book where I discuss ego death and the things that I've learned through progressive ego deaths. And one of the things that I was able to recover is that during my previous incarnations, particularly during my times as a non-human, I felt as the way I feel the drive to create and love and experience joy as a human, as the various creatures that I've been throughout past lives, I've felt the drive to make my movements and my general way of being harmonize with the rhythm of the earth that I could detect as it relates to the particular creature, if that makes sense. An example, for the time that I was a crab, the way that I moved and ambulated across the ocean floor with these 8 little pointy legs, it wasn't like I wanted to do it. It was like I had to do it. I had to move that way and ambulate in a particular manner that harmonized with the magnetic waves, rhythmic pulses, whatever you want to call it, that as a crab I could detect coming from the earth. I had to move in harmony with that. And from that, I feel I gained a better understanding of the kind of music that I like. The kind of music that I like a wide variety, but in particular, the music that makes me move, the music that makes me get up and go, usually has very intricate drums. In particular, the double bass pattern and the hi-hat pattern, lots of toms too, can't get enough toms. But in particular, the way the hi-hat is played with the bass drum has this very familiar draw to it. And I should also probably preface that all of this that I'm sharing is in my book and covered in my book, and how I got there using a therapeutic approach to plant medicine to further deepen the understanding of myself, my self-mastery, self-discipline, things like that. And through one of the top 3 most beautiful days of my life, I was able to see these things, accept these things, understand these things from an objective standpoint, using a method developed by Al Hubbard and used widely throughout academia and the therapeutic industry. So that being said, that's where these impressions came from, journaled everything, and came to terms and accepted it. And I've only felt more in touch and in control and in command of myself and my ability to make music after deepening that understanding and accepting that viewpoint that the particular type of music that I enjoy and the types of music that I like to produce, where that comes from as an existential creature, for me at least, I can say I feel comes from my time spent as a non-human through my previous incarnations. So that being said, I spent time in high school in a couple different bands with some amazing people that I still am so very fortunate enough to keep in contact with to this day. These are very talented artists. These are very talented musicians. And in addition to that, they're great husbands and fathers and boyfriends and just all around good guys and good friends. I'm privileged to know these people and privileged to have worked with them and made music with them. And then during my time as a Jehovah's Witness, music, of course, went into the background and became a sort of hobby, went way more of a hobby as opposed to a profession as I had once viewed it. And so because of that, I'd let my practice slide, of course, let my skills sort of dull a little bit because I didn't really feel a future in music, you know, with the end of the world coming and the preaching work to be done. And so music fell to that area, and I became more of a fan than a producer and creator, and which is nothing wrong with that. It's great, beautiful. I'm a fan, you know, through and through, but I'm also an artist, and I need to create. And I was denying myself that. As an artist, I was denying myself the right and the ability to create in the name of what I thought was something greater. And amidst all of that, as some of you may know, 2016, 2017, things in me and my family's life took a very hard turn. And I lost my ability to use my legs and to, you know, walk, to be, to do things, pick up my children, anything like that, after herniating 3 discs in my spine. And for 10 months, I was completely just immobile. It was gross, awful, hard time. But somehow I recovered. I can talk to anyone about that if they want to hear the story. But I recovered from that. And I should say I regained the ability to walk for 6 months at a time from that. Still, my back will go out and I will just not be able to move, and until I'm able to get to a chiropractor or some other person who could adjust me back. And couple that with a fall I had around that same time on my elbow that messed up, froze one of my rotator cuff on the left side here. And also a fall I had in 2011 off a chair that jammed everything here, jammed my rotator cuff, my deltoid. Those injuries severely affected my ability to produce music in the way that I know I can. And so I did what I've done throughout all of my incarnations, and I adapted. I learned to move as best as I can on the piano and to float around on the keys. You know, none of you have seen me do it in public yet, but you will. The time is coming. And many of you know that I have a really nice drum set, 9-piece Tama Rockstar, Swing Star, I think. It's in storage right now, and that's where it's been for the last year. And really, even before that, after 2017, I found myself unable to play the drums like I used to, and unable to play the drums like I needed to. And these circumstances around my injury and the recovery involved a union and courts and stuff like that. So I became unable to create new music, but I had up to that point a whole bunch of old music that I'd recorded and sounds. When I was little, I wanted to be a Foley artist, and so in high school I took some film editing classes and learned. That was when my first introduction into sound engineering on a professional level, and it was beautiful and amazing. And so since then, you know, I've taken the courses necessary and put in the time necessary to develop my skills as a sound engineer and as an audio engineer. And I am a music producer. And so during that time where I was unable to perform or to use my instruments, you know, it still affects me to play guitar. It's an awful thing, you know. I still have a hard time sitting down. I'm sitting on a very intricate cushion right now, so I have to buy I saw it thankfully at NAMM, the music equipment show in Southern California. I saw a beautiful drum throne that has a split down the middle that would enable me to actually sit and play the drums with my spine the way it is now. And so I look forward to purchasing that once, you know, I can get my drum set up again and everything, and making a return to the stage behind the kit. So that being said, you know, I adapted and I became an engineer. And when I couldn't use my instruments the way I wanted to, I developed my skills with editing. I developed my skills with engineering. I developed my skills with production. And I took the sounds that I had previously made and being inspired by, like Trent Reznor and other people like that, running things through filters, sequencing, all those wonderful, wonderful things that have, people have developed over the years and enabled, other people have developed over the years to enable people like me, independent artists, to create and express myself the way I see fit. And so I developed those skills, and that's where my music comes from now. When I say I released 4 albums in 4 different genres over the last, 2.5, 3 years, it's true. People say, well, where did you have the time? How do you do that? I'm like, that's old stuff. The drums, everything like that, that's all old recorded things that I was able to then mix into new sounds. The way that I am able to use the piano now, the guitar bits that I am able to record, the short bursts of guitar that I'm able to do because of this injury I'm still recovering from. I'm able to do it. I'm able to execute it, write it, and record it. In fact, I'm going to show you something that I have. Let me go grab that, but I'm going to show you something that I have that I made to teach myself music theory from a producer standpoint, so that given what I can do, I can adapt and I can still be successful at creating music that comes from my heart, music that I work very hard on, music that I pour a lot of time and hours into in this hot little room, in the living room, any place that I can where I can get the proper sound insulation, and then begin production and begin engineering, begin the editing, the EDM, that goes with my books. When I wrote my books, I said I want to create an immersive as an experience as possible. I wanted to bring the reader into the entire universe of Our Amplified Earth. And I said, what would the characters listen to? What would the characters, what melodramatic music would drive the characters, right? And so I sat down at the keyboard, the drum machine, my bass, my guitar, everything, anything I could get my hands on, I would sit there and I would play, and I would use the sheet that I'm going to show you. And I would work with that, and I would create, and I would make sounds, and I would put it together and I would release it. And, after publishing and everything like that, I created Luxarium Records I incorporated and created Luxarium Records to release my music, so that I can make sure that, my children have a future. I'm trying to build a legacy for them too with my art. So now that everything is protected and the money can come to me the way it needs to, I have a little saying, there's only 5 websites that separates an indie from a professional. And if you know what they are, and you know how to use them, and you know how the other steps that go along with making it work, then you too can be a working professional artist with your own rights, owning your publishing, owning your mechanicals, owning all of that, because you should get paid for the work that you do. And so I learned how to do all that by making EDM, and for my books in particular. And then I branched out into there. I was fortunate enough to work on a podcast for this wonderful man in Germany. He wrote the scripts and everything, and said, I need a Foley guy who plays instruments and can do voices. And I said, oh my God, that's me. And I auditioned, I sent in my reel, I sent in what I could do, and he hired me. And I produced 10 episodes of his podcast. Start to finish, did all the voices, all the music, all the effects, everything. That inspired me to do that for my own series. So that's where the Tales from Our Amplified Earth comes from. And that's how I learned how to do that. And that's where, sort of all started, those more technical skills. After that, I became, I was inspired, and I said, okay, yeah, my dream is to become a proficient jazz musician, a jazz drummer and everything like that. So that's my goal after I get that new throne and my drum set set back up and everything. That's the direction I'm headed in. And so I said, I want to take the drum sounds that I've recorded and played with and myself and everything like that, and these new piano skills, and take my bass and everything. And I sat down and I put in the work, and I wrote this wonderful little jazz album called the Doom Magic Sessions by Hindu Frankenstein. That's me. It's all me. I did all the arranging, did all the production, everything on that. And it was a lot of fun and it was a lot of work, but it was years and years of work that came together sort of forcibly due to circumstances, right? But I mean, that's sometimes how some of the best art is created. And after that, I had discovered what I call pneumalogic parakinetics, psychedelics, from a therapeutic standpoint. And I said, I love to challenge myself as an artist. Many of my books are written in different styles because I wanted to see if I could write in that style. And so I took the same approach to music, and I said, I wonder what would take place. My background is in metal, death metal. Been to hundreds of concerts. Really, yes. It's just been a wonderful, amazing time. I love the technical execution that comes along with death metal. That is what I really love, the time and dedication that these men and women put into their artistry, and then you get up on stage and you're playing. That is the best for me. I love bluegrass for the same reason. And so I said I want to make a metal album, but not just that. I want to write song lyrics, something I've never done before. I had a hard time understanding song lyrics, meaning if you spoke to me in rhyme or in lyrical fashion, the words would simply unravel, and all the beautiful things that you and many other people see and hear when they hear poetry or when they hear song lyric, I simply don't. It's simply, I hear a voice and I hear words, but the artistry linking the words simply disappears, which is the irony of ironies given everything that I do. But I feel I was able to trace the roots of that, and the roots of that was the speech therapy I received as a child. I had a horrible stutter and a terrible lisp and stammer, and the speech therapy that I had starting about 5 years old, it was very intense. My teacher was wonderful. She was a really, really nice lady, but the methodology was very difficult. And I used it wasn't difficult, I should say. It was just trying as a child. And so I used a little box and had to write things in salt with my finger while saying them, other things like that. That was nice. That wasn't too bad. But at the school itself, the things I had to do, I believe the process of the therapy and how I went through it and how I processed it as a child affected me so that emotional expression in this voice and in became difficult, or if not impossible, because I found that if I speak with an accent, then I can just pour out emotion. It just flows out of me. But speaking like this, I can be very technical. I can be very precise with my words. My metaphors, allegories, everything like that are, prominent and good and solid. But poetry, lyrical expression, no, it is my absolute weakest point. And so when the metal album came, I said, okay, how can I have emotions. How can I put them into lyric and process them healthily, right? In a cathartic way. And so I speak Spanish, in case you didn't know that. And so I said, let me try and rhyme and write and do this in Spanish. And let me see what happens. And so I did. I sat down and I started writing, and I would think in Spanish and try to rhyme, and it just came together. It just flowed. And I took the frustration and anger, resentment, all of those powerful emotions that I felt towards Jehovah's Witnesses, the Watchtower organization, and I put it onto paper in words, in lyric, in poetic prose for the first time. And I had never felt better about the whole overall situation, because I felt like I was able to finally express it. In this voice, I can tell you how I feel, but inside I don't feel the release. Writing it in lyric in Spanish, it was everything. It all came out. I was crying. If you listen to the lyrics, they're pretty blasphemous. They're pretty intense. But it was how I felt, and it was what I felt needed to be said. And instead of taking a platform and, getting a YouTube channel where I just rant and rave, I decided to put it into this musical encapsule and sort of put it out there and let it go like that. And so thus Gordo Loco was born. And the album Muerte, I released it earlier this year, and I recorded that. I wrote and recorded the music on while taking Thai mushrooms, psychedelic mushrooms. I acquired them legally and took about 2 grams every other day for about 2 weeks. And I put myself in that recording studio and I wrote and I played and I wrote and I played and I wrote and I played and I did it over and over again. And I mixed the old drum sounds that I had and I did it. I did it. And so then I was given the opportunity, thankfully, by the podcast, Satanic Bay Area. Thank you. I was allowed to perform at Faust Fest, which you may or may not have seen. And that was that. That was what I created during the 2-week period of intense introspection driven by a therapeutic approach to psychedelics. And I was able to process and express these complex emotions and share them with the world. And I'm grateful for that. And so then my most recent musical outing, Atheist Pet Shop. No, I'm not an atheist, but that phrasing came to me, several years ago. And so I put it in my books and I felt, yes, I have to include this as a real thing. So I took my love of country music and sawing on a fiddle and that sweet, sweet Appalachian sound, I took it and I melded it with the EDM that flows from me naturally that I just feel, and created Atheist Pet Shop. And I played it for a friend of mine. He said, yeah, it's great if you like country music and heroin. So that was what he thought. I'd love to know what anyone else thinks of it. So Gil, give it a listen. All of my music, Deep Roy, Gordo Loco, Hindu Frankenstein, Atheist Pet Shop, and my newest project, Slash Magician, which is really just my rebranding of Deep Roy. They're all to be found everywhere. iTunes, Amazon Music, YouTube Music. I made two movies using, pre-code, copyright-free movies and footage and things like that. So check that out. It's everywhere. It's absolutely everywhere. Spotify, Pandora. But I felt like I had to come out and address that yes, I am a real musician. Yes, I really did do these things. Yes, you really can go listen to it right now. And yes, when this whole madness is over, you will see me out there performing. My end goal, of course, is to, I want to make movies one day and things like that. But anything I can do in the meantime to help other people on their journey to meet themselves or to express themselves through music, I want to be a part of. I want to help out and contribute. I love making music. Music is a tremendous, key, essential part of all of our existences. And we can all make music. It's not just reserved for talented people or things like that. No. Every single one of you out there can express yourself through music properly and appropriately. And I want to celebrate you for doing that. But this is me. This is how I make music. This is why I make music. This is why you haven't seen me making music out publicly or things like that, but you will soon. And so go out there and give it a listen. And if you like it, great. And if you don't, that's fine too. My name is Patrick Francis Waters. I am the owner of the Luxarium Art House. I am an occultist. I am an illuminated scientist. I'm a musician and many, many, many other things. So please check it out. Tell me what you think. And thank you for watching. All right, so this is the sheet I was talking about. It looks like that on that side, and it looks like that on that side. So I made this, and I sell this too. This is the tool I used to teach myself how to make music. It has a circle of fifths, majors and minors, the relative minor directly across. It explains what key, root, and tonic is, the same thing, and tells you how to modify the scale that you choose. You choose your scale, and then you modify it using an interval, and the collections of intervals are these things here: major, minor, mixolydian, Phrygian, blues, and then I tell you how to make chords. Just nice and easy using the intervals of the scale you chose up here. And you just kind of go back and forth and play around. I like this piano thing here. It talks about the different ranges of the voice. It talks about the range of the electric bass, the electric guitar, and the piano, how to count rhythm and things like that. I love this. And it's because of that that I made for myself years ago that I'm able to make the music that I do as a producer. Thank you.